What's happening, guys? Dave here. If you cannot tell by my voice, I am quite sick, but I finally have the time to do a review. You guys can actually thank Marc for this one. I was on his Block TV this morning, and we were kind of complaining about the lack of reviews recently, and I was like, you know what, screw it, let me do one. And I had 5 that were ready, and we decided this was, Marc picked this one, and I don't blame him because this one has not been done yet, so it is another exclusive for me. And it is another Nasomatto, and this is Duro. Yep. Same presentation as Black Afgano. The bottle's not quite as pretty. The cap is more plain. Looks a lot like the bottle for Pardon, actually. Box is up on the wall. I'm too lazy to take it down because I don't feel good. You can see it there up above the lavos. Those are the 3 Nasomatto boxes anyway. Has a little slide out. Comes with a little black cap as well for travel purposes. So you don't bring this huge thing if you want to bring the bottle with you. Year released in 2007. The perfumer again is Alesandro Gualtieri. I'm sure I butchered his name, but whatever. Now the name Duro, from my understanding, roughly translates to, how do I put this, raging, erection, boner, hard-on, whatever term you would like to use. That is my understanding of what it translates to, and I actually think that's aptly named. In terms of smell, it's hard, it's kind of coarse, almost a little bit vulgar, intense, which actually works very, very well for what the name means, in my opinion. Notes, if you don't know this, Nasomatto does not list their notes, but I will tell you the notes that I feel are in this fragrance, and those are oud, leather, pepper, sandalwood, incense or tobacco. It's almost like a campfire vibe to me, a little bit of smoke, amber, musk, patchouli, and possibly cedar. And there's also some herbs and spices that I just cannot place that are in this. So I couldn't pick them all out, but I got a lot of them, at least I think. That's actually one thing I really like about the Nasomattos, is I think it's actually more fun when you don't know the notes. I don't know why, but it is to me. As far as bottles, there's only one, 30 ml, 1 ounce, so we'll run you 165. As far as classification, I would call this a spicy, woody, aromatic. I guess that's what it's technically classified as. I would call it woody, spicy leather fragrance. First blast, I can always tell what the scent is going to be like right away. There's absolutely no sweetness to be seen anywhere. Like nowhere in this fragrance does it get sweet at all to me. Right on the top, I get a very dry, woody vibe with a bit of spice and a dash of like an old leather jacket. Almost like you walked into a Middle Eastern furniture factory or something like that. It's obvious from the beginning this is going to be a very masculine and very intense fragrance. At least to me. I do start to pick up some smokiness in the top as well. It's mostly woods I'm getting that I believe are oud and sandalwood with a dash of pepper, leather, and a little bit of incense. The top lasts for a good 20 minutes on my skin, and then begins to transition to the mid. To be honest, it doesn't progress too much from top to mid. The dry down is really where it changes a little bit more, in my opinion. The mid, I still get a strong, intense, spicy, woody vibe with a bit of smokiness, almost like a dash of campfire thrown in. I think I've mentioned that already. Sorry, I'm really sick. Also could be from amber as well. It's got that kind of campfire, almost pencil shaving type vibe, so I'm not sure if it's incense or amber. It's not the easiest to pick apart because it's very well blended. The leather becomes more prominent in the mid, which is really the main change from the top to mid, in my opinion, is the leather becomes a little bit more part of the fragrance. The set smells very naturally to me, although I'm not sure if it's synthetic or all natural in construction. If it is synthetic, they did a very good job of making it smell natural. This oud is different to me, as it isn't blended with anything sweet or floral to sweeten it up and make the oud a little bit less medicinal or harsh. It's just supported by other wood and a little bit of leather, which kind of does tone it down a little bit, but this fragrance is completely devoid of sweetness, and there is no doubt that it is masculine. The oud and the sandalwood are probably the most prominent notes to my nose, with the herbs, the spices are definitely hanging on in the mid as well, and the leather is definitely there. On my skin, the sandalwood and musk become much more prominent in the dry down, and it is a little less intense and loud than the top and mid. It gets a little bit closer to the skin, and it's not quite as intense. The oud and the spices are still making their presence known here as well, but they're more in the background at this point on my skin. The leather fades into the background a bit as well, and the result is a much less intense and in-your-face fragrance, as I've mentioned. I also pick up some amber here as well. Overall, the scent seems slightly linear despite the changes I mentioned from the top to bottom, but the overall vibe of the fragrance stays consistent. It is definitely an intense, masculine, spicy, woody scent with some leather. There's no girly stuff in this one at all. Not to me, at least. I honestly, this is where I struggle with this one, not so much picking it apart, but what to use it for. I'm going to say that it is best for clubs, bars, formal events, and anything outdoors. I really don't see this being worn to work or to school. I just don't think it's that type of fragrance, and I don't think it is a signature scent either. As far as what women have said about this one, they are very mixed on this one. Some really, really like it, and some say it's just too intense for them, too masculine, too vulgar. I've heard too youthful, which I don't really get the youthful part, but I'll get into that in a little bit. The compliment factor actually was a little bit above average, though, but it's totally dependent on the number of sprays you use. Less sprays, generally more compliments. More sprays, more people that dislike it. Should give you a hint. I'm not a big sprayer. I usually go fairly light on stuff. Now, as far as age, I would say that probably 20 plus. It seems mature to me, but also almost kind of vulgar and youthful, if that makes sense. So that's why I'm saying 20 plus. Now, as far as number of sprays, I can go to one on my chest and one on the back of my neck, or one on my chest and one on wrist and clink, but I usually prefer just one spray, just because of the kind of intensity of the scent. I wouldn't really recommend much more than this, given the intensity of the top and the mid. Who would like this fragrance? If you like intense fragrances, spicy woody scents, oud fragrances, fragrances with no sweetness or florals. Dominant notes to me are the oud, sandalwood, pepper, leather, musk, and incense. Why would you not like this fragrance? If you're not a fan of woody fragrances, don't even bother. If you prefer sweet or fresh fragrances, again, don't even bother. If you like quiet, more subdued fragrances, don't even bother again. If you dislike oud, sandalwood, leather, or pepper, I would probably avoid this fragrance. If you like, I'm going to say Yves Saint Laurent's M7, Nasomatto Black Afghano, Santa Maria Novella Nostalgia, and Montal Oud Musk, then I would probably try this fragrance. I've also heard it compared to Axe Instinct. Yeah, you heard me correctly. But I have not smelled this to confirm. I probably should have done that before I did this, but I kind of avoid the Axe part of the deodorant aisle. I just always have. What do I think of when I wear this? I've already mentioned this, but walking into a furniture factory in the Middle East or somewhere that they use heavy spices, but completely devoid of any of the chemical smells that you sometimes get, like treated wood, that type of stuff, no chemicals, where it's just natural woods. There's someone burning one stick of incense, and there's a bunch of old leather jackets in one corner of the building. Overall smell, I'm going to give it a B+. It's very woody, intense, and it smells natural to me. I do really enjoy the smell, but it can be a bit too much at times. Although I will say it's less of a mood fragrance than Black Afghano is. Projection, I'm going to give it an A. Not quite an A+. It's fantastic on my skin for the first 6 to 7 hours, but then it does get closer to the skin. But it's still pretty easy to smell for people. Longevity, it gets an A+. The least amount of hours I have gotten with this thing is 16. I average probably 16 to 24, depending on the number of sprays and wear. It doesn't last quite as well as Black Afghano on my skin, but it will last for days to weeks on clothes. I got it on my jacket once, and yeah, I had to wash it to get it off. Like, it was still there a month later, so I just put my jacket in the washing machine. Fortunately, it wasn't a leather jacket, so I could wash it. Uniqueness. It gets a B- here, despite being one of the few oud fragrances that I've come across that is completely devoid of sweetness of florals or to lessen the harshness. It smells familiar. It's nothing super unique, although I do really enjoy this blend. Versatility, again, a B-. It's really not versatile in my opinion. The scent strength is just too intense to be worn in warmer weather. The type of fragrance is best suited for cooler weather. I would say late fall, winter, and early spring. I cannot see this being a signature scent due to the potency and the scent type. It's more of a situation frag, although I will say it's easier to wear than Black Afgano. What I mean by that is Black Afgano you really have to be in the mood for it. You're not going to enjoy it. This one is much easier to wear when you're not in the mood for it. My overall rating is going to be a B+. It's a solid fragrance from Nasomatto, but it's nothing mind-blowing. I do enjoy the lack of sweetness in this particularly uber woody blend. It smells good to me, but this is one I don't reach for super often, although I must admit I find it easier to reach for than Black Afgano. Duro, I'm going to say Duro is Black Afgano's less interesting cousin. They do share some similarities in my opinion, but I find Black Afgano to be far superior. It's a very solid, woody, spicy, slightly leathery fragrance that is definitely something I very much enjoy, but I'll keep saying it, it is not mind-blowing. It is not a 10 out of 10 fragrance for me. I would say that it is a try. Definitely do not blind buy this, as with any Nasomatto. The price alone should deter you from that, but do not blind buy it. Just fork over the $7 for a sample. It's like 0.7 ml for a sample anyway, and with how potent this stuff is, that'll give you 3 or 4 wearings probably at least. Probably at least. So, that is my take on Duro. I'm sure some of you guys were expecting me to hype it up a little bit more, but I mean, it's a good fragrance, but just because it's Nasomatto doesn't mean it deserves hype. So, it's a good fragrance. I'm glad I have it, but it didn't rock me or anything, so not like Black Afgano did. But anyway, guys, that is my take on Nasomatto Duro. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll check you guys soon.